Alright, so this is our table of contents. We are doing comparing and ordering fractions. Make sure that your pages are numbered and up to date. I'm going to bounce over to my page 39. So your page number is probably different.
I heard I smell something.
So compare and order fractions. Okay, today is the 8th. And we are missing just Zach. Is that it?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Just one friend gone. All right. So make sure your table of contents is up to date. Make sure that you have this title. Your pages are numbered. Oh. Okay. So when we are looking at a fraction, we have two parts. Well, I'm going to wait for you guys to stop talking, right, Colton?
Yeah.
Thanks. So if I have, I'll just use as an example, 1/2. Does anybody remember what the top part of the fraction is called? Carson.
The top part of a fraction is called the denominator.
The denominator?
Right, anybody else have an actual answer? Yeah, Jake. Numerator is correct. So we refer to the top as numerator, and that makes the bottom what, Weston? Denominator. So this should sound familiar. If you don't remember, that's okay, because you slept a while since you last did fractions. Okay? All right, can everybody see the screen up there? Are we good?
I can't.
You can't. Why not?
My eyes are broken.
Write it down. Yeah, it may not be big enough. We'll try it though.
I kind of like it better.
All right, numerator and the denominator. So the top of my fraction represents what?
The number.
The number of.
The what's it like? Say I have a circle and there's like the pieces.
Okay.
And then there's like the thing.
The thing. So if I say the parts,
Yeah.
does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now the bottom number, just as a reminder, is going to represent what the whole looks like. Okay, let me move this over a little bit. So we have the parts over the whole. So for 1/2, that tells me there is one part out of 2 represented. So if I am going to create one whole, I have to have 2 pieces shaded. Now, fractions go along with our friends decimals, right? Because a fraction ideally should represent part of a number, not a whole number. Now, we're going to find that that is different, okay? That isn't always the it isn't always the case, but that's what it's made for, to show a part of a whole. Everybody with me? Can we keep going? All right. So if I needed to represent 1/2, of course, I can just go old school here. I'll break it in half, and then I shade in one part out of 2. Okay?
Does it matter like if we do it straight down the middle?
Oh, I don't care. Yeah, make yours however you want. I'm pretty sure all of you could do that with your eyes closed, so go ahead and just make sure you have a visual there.
Can we do it with like a different?
I am too.
Like a different shape. Did I do it? I did it. Cards.
I did too, but look at mine.
Like, can we do it with a different shape?
Why does it matter? Carson, I think you probably just use some common sense and
Apparently.
make sure that you have your visual there. Okay, so if I wanted to write a fraction as a whole with 2 pieces, what would that look like? The other piece shaded in. What would that look like as a fraction? So if I wanted to write a fraction like 1/2 as a whole, as 1, what would it be? Carson?
There is a
Okay, I'm not calling on you anymore after this. Let's go.
whole, like, bro, thing. Like a whole thing. And
Anybody else?
it's all shaded.
Anybody, literally, anyone.
And it's all shaded in.
Marley, Leroy, anybody. Okay.
Marley.
Who's Marley? Indeed. All right, Weston. How would I write a fraction that's a whole number?
She's here.
Like,
Oh my Lord! Stop talking.
draw it as a shape or write it.
Write it. Now think about this. If I wanted to write a fraction that actually represents 1, Eli, do you have to go to the bathroom because you're going to miss some notes?
11.
Okay, bye. Take your time. What would it look like?
Actually, no. It would look like.
Nope. Violet, how would I write it? 2 over 2.
Oh my goodness. That's what I was gonna say.
Don't make it difficult. So I would have my 2 pieces, and they would both be shaded, which shows a hole. 1 hole.
No, you didn't, Carson. No, you didn't.
Carson, you didn't say anything but
You said,
GPP.
well. I said,
All right, so I think we all understand what the fraction looks like, what it's called, and the parts over a whole, what it looks like visually, and then what it looks like as a whole number, and what that looks like visually. Give me a thumbs up if you are with me. All right, so now what I want to do is actually compare to fraction. So let's make another little section here. We're going to compare and talk about how we do that. Now, I want you to think about a couple of things. Like, let's say I'm going to use the fraction 4/16, and I'm going to compare that. Nope, I'm going to do that to 4/6, and I'm going to compare that to 2/6. So I'm going to take these two and I'm going to compare them. Who's bigger, who's smaller? It's immediately pretty easy because I can look at how many makes it a whole, and then I can look at the top part, which represents how many pieces I have, and I can tell even by just looking at these two that 4/6 is bigger. Yes? Okay, but they won't always have the same denominator. So I want to talk about how we see these so that we're prepared later when those denominators are different. Colton, do you want to say something?
I thought like. Wait, never mind.
Okay. All right, so real quick, if I go to draw 4/16 here, I'm going to automatically split it.
4/6.
So 4/6, thank you. So I'm going to break this into 3 columns. So there's my 6 pieces. I'm going to go ahead and draw this one down here the same so that they are kind of like proportional to each other. And then if I make a visual of 4 out of 6, I'm going to shade 1, 2, 3, 4 on this one.
2.
And 2 out of this one. All right, so go ahead and write that down for me. Remember, it does not have to be perfect. Go ahead and just show me what that looks like visually. Sure.
I know you can.
All right, so immediately when we look at this visually, we know that 4/6 is bigger, okay? We knew it because the denominators were the same. Those are always the easiest ones to compare, right? So first of all, if my bottom numbers, my denominators are the same, all I have to look and see, okay, 4 is definitely bigger than 2. I know that it's bigger. If I draw them, I see that 4/6 is way bigger than 2/6. Just completely comparing them. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is think of these as compared to 1/2 or 1 whole. And I'm going to just draw this up here. So up here, I'm thinking of it like compared to 1/2. And up here, I'm going to think about it compared to 1 whole. So go ahead and just write that up here. Now, if I didn't want to draw a bunch of pictures, because frankly, who has time for that? Nobody. The other thing that I want to do is take a look at 4/6. Okay, and I'm going to compare it to what half of a fraction would be out of 6. So what would half of a fraction be? If I have 6 pieces total, and I was going to make that half of it, what would that fraction look like? I have 6 pieces, and I only want to shade in half. What would that fraction be called? What do you think, Grace? Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and I only shade in half. How many pieces do I shade in? 3. So it would be 3/6. So you've got 3/6 here. And if it was a whole fraction, Josh, what would I call it? Now remember, right up here, when we talked about anything that was cut in 2 pieces, the whole fraction would be called, right here. We drew it. Huh? That's it. Yeah, but this fraction made the whole. So if I have 6 pieces, what would the fraction be? I see your hand, Violet. I'm looking for other people to answer too, okay? I'm waiting on Josh. It's out of 6 pieces, so I know my denominator is going to stay the same. How many pieces out of 6 have to be shaded here to represent one whole?
6.
6, yeah. There you go. So is 4/6, so if I put 4, I'm going to put 4/6 right here in the middle. Is 4/6 closer to 1/2 or 1 whole?
1/2.
Yeah, it really is, because it's only just 1 away. So you would say, okay, this is about half. It's a little bigger than half, right? So now if I do the same thing with 2/6, so I'm just going to write this again. Here's 1/2 and here's a whole. Now I'm going to put that second fraction, 2/6, here in the middle.
This fan?
Yeah.
Mine looks terrible.
I'm sorry.
Like, I can't read it myself.
I looked away for 1 second and then I saw.
I know, same.
Yeah. Oh.
I hear lots of talking, so I'm going to assume that you caught up. So looking back, let's jump back up here to 4/6, because I just thought of a different way I wanted to look at this. So if I'm comparing 4/6 and 2/6, right? So if I'm comparing 4/6 to what 1/2 would be, is 4/6 bigger or smaller than 3/6?
Bigger.
It's bigger. So I could write my sign this way, right? Greater than. 4/6 is greater than 1/2. It technically is, right? And it's less than 6/6. But definitely closest to 1/2. Now,
This hurts my brain. Like, really.
why?
Like, I get it, but like, there's like just too many steps. I know.
Now, are there too many steps, or am I showing you several different ways to look at it? So this is, now keep in mind, you do not need to write all of this out when you are solving these problems. What I'm giving you are notes so that you can tell, okay, this is the half, this is the whole, which one is it closer to? You don't need to write all this out when we're doing this math. Let's be clear here. You need to look at the fraction, look at 4/6, and think, oh, half of that would be 3/6, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty close to 3/6. It's pretty close to 1/2. All right, so if I'm looking at 2/6, is it closer to 3/6 or 6/6?
3.
It's closer to the half.
Oh.
Is 2/6 less than or greater than 3/6?
It's less.
Lesson.
It's less. I'm going to open that mouth toward half, right? Now remember, again, you can picture 6 pieces. This one only has 2, but this one has 3. It has half. So 2 over 6 is not, it's less than half. But 4 over 6 is bigger than half. So when I look at 4 over 6, let me push this up a little, versus 2 over 6.
Stop talking about your camera.
And I have something, ladies, chill out. How am I going to compare these two fractions? Which one's bigger? Jake? 4, 6. Now, again, this felt like a whole lot of work to compare two fractions that already have the same denominator, the same bottom number. But again, remember, this is like we're learning a habit, because very soon your numbers will be different on the bottom. Okay, so we need some plans, we need some skills so that we can look at these guys differently. Now, there is ultimately a much faster way to figure out which is which. I'm not going to show you that yet because I want you to be able to look at the fractions and think of them in terms of relationships, especially when the numbers are different. So hold on to this. Hold on to this. After this, what I would like to do is drop the pictures because honestly, it's a little babyish. And like I said, ain't nobody got time for that. So let's take a look at another set of numbers. All right. I'm going to draw myself a little line here. And let's look at some other fractions that we can compare. Let's see if my book... Okay, perfect. So, in the book, they've given us 2 tenths and 6 eighths. Yes.
I don't have much room on my page. Should I go to another page?
Absolutely. Make your notes yours. Make sure you can read them. Okay. So now we're going to jump right into two different fractions with different denominators. And we need to look at them and decide which is bigger, which is smaller. So again, what I want to do is I want to think about these and compare them to what half of that fraction would be and what a whole of that fraction would be. So if I look at 2 tenths, I've got 10 as my denominator. What would 1/2? What would half of a tenth be? Carson, don't make me sorry. Just say it.
1/2 of a tenth would be 5.
5 out of 10. Okay, so is 2 tenths smaller than 1/2 or bigger than 1/2?
Smaller.
It's smaller. Okay, good. Now, what about 6 over 8? What would half of a fraction with 8 as a denominator be? Audrey? No, go with it. Well, it's got 8 pieces make it whole. What would half of that be? 4 over 8. So if I compare 6 eighths to half of a fraction with eighths would be 4 over 8. Is 6 eighths bigger or smaller than 4 eighths?
Bigger.
It's bigger. So if I look at these two fractions, if I look ultimately at 2 tenths and 6 eighths, I need to compare these two. Which one is bigger, which one is smaller? Think about half. 2 tenths was smaller than a half. 6 eighths is bigger than a half. Which one's bigger? McKinley?
2 tenths. Oh, wait.
So 2 tenths would be less than half. Now I'm just going to come over here real quick. Okay, let me do this and let me do this because the numbers are different. So let's see if I break this into 1, 2, 3. Here's 4 out of 8. And then here I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 0.45.
Do we have
Are y'all with me? No, you don't have to if you don't want to, but I want you to be able to see this. So here is 2 out of 10. And here is 6, 2, 4, 6 out of 8. So imagine you have the 2 cakes, but you divide them into different pieces. Your top cake, you make 10 pieces out of it. Your bottom cake, you cut into 8 slices. Cakes are same size, just different amount of slices. That is what we're comparing here. We want to know if they ate 2/10 of this cake and 6/8 of this cake, which cake did they eat the most out of, right? So, but what we want to do is be able to think about these fractions without having to see them. So, we think of it in terms of half. We're just going to say, okay, I'm going to compare 2/10 and 6/8 to what half of that cake would look like with those slices. And when I did, I said that 2/10 was less than half. Here's about half, right? Right here. 2/10 is way smaller than a half of the cake. 6/8, the half fell like right here, right? So it was way more than half. So which one is bigger?
6.
The 6/8. Are y'all with me? Are y'all with me? Yeah, I appreciate your answers, but let's make sure that you get called on. So this is what we're looking at ultimately. If you need to draw them, that's fine too, but ultimately, if you are comparing your fraction with another fraction, same bottom number, the bigger one has the biggest number on top, and that's all you need to remember. Give me a thumbs up if you are with me and you've got this. In the middle, if you're getting there, but you need a little more practice, and thumbs down if you want to go back to kindergarten right now. Your attitude is in kindergarten, Carson. Okay, all right, so I think we're good. Let's look at another one. Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to kindergarten.
I just want to go to kindergarten for the naps. Okay, so
There's only naps in pre-K.
y'all should have gone back in my day. Back in my day, we had
I
them.
had naps in kindergarten.
Oh.
I've never sleep in
Wait, I had naps in 3rd.
Okay, and we're done with that conversation. Okay, let's take a look at... All right, let's take a look at these two fractions, and we're going to do another comparison here. So again,
7 under 10.
I'm going to compare 3/6 and 7/10. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to, and keep in mind, guys, you can start out by actually writing out the halves and kind of thinking them through. Some of you are going to jump into just saying, that is a half, this is more than a half, boom. I know which one is which, right? But this is how I want you to picture them. Picture what half would look like and ask yourself, which is bigger? All right, so half of 3/6 would be 3/6. It's already written as a half. Put your hand down because I'm still talking. What would half of a fraction with a 10th in the denominator look like? Yeah, Colty.
5.
5 out of 10. So here I would say 3 out of 6 is equal to half. It is half. Which is bigger, 7/10 or 5/10?
7.
Audrey, what do you think? Which is bigger, 7/10 or 5 out of 10?
7.
The 7, for sure. So if I say 3/6 versus 7/10,
Miss Van, I have to use the bathroom.
go.
I don't.
Who hasn't answered in a while? Eli. 3/6 versus 7/10. Which one is bigger?
7/10.
The 7/10, because we compared them here. Now this is what I want to do next. Y'all go ahead and write that one down real quick, and then I want to compare two fractions that are both bigger than 1/2. All right, let's take a look at it. One more. Let's do...
Miss Mary Carson, stop trying to talk to you.
Imagine that.
I don't think she wants to go.
Dang.
What does he want?
He's asking a question.
What do you want, Carson? What?
I thought that would be equal.
You thought what would be equal?
3 and 7.
No. 7 is obviously
I was
bigger.
talking to you, Ryan.
Hang on a second. Now,
Dang.
3 over 6 is half, right? This bottom number, the denominator tells me I have 6 pieces.
Yeah.
3 is half of that. So this one is actually equal to half. What half would be? The 7 out of 10 is bigger than 5 out of 10. It's 2 bigger.
But I thought it would be equal because you're missing 3 pieces in each one.
Nope, you're just talking about what is represented. So this is 3 out of the 6. So if I have 6 pieces here, I am going to shade half of them. If I have 10 pieces out of this one, 1, 2, 3, nope. This is about 10. This is 5 and 6, 7. So not only is it the top half, do they match the top half, but I also have extra pieces here colored in. So that makes the 7 over 10 bigger. It doesn't matter what's missing. We're talking about what is actually being shaded. All right. So go ahead if you haven't already, and let's write down this last one that we want to compare, because we still need to do some contrasting. Okay. So go ahead and write down next to each of these fractions. You know what? Let's do 7/10 again.
Right.
Let me fix that
Well,
one.
I know that.
Get your panties out of a twist. Come on
It's the
now.
same thing.
Yeah, cool.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I still have the same answer.
Oh, good. All right. So
Jolly good.
write down next to it, like we did over here, what the half of the fraction would look like with these denominators. And then let's compare. All right. So half of a fraction with the 4 at the bottom would look like 2 out of 4. Half of a fraction with a denominator of 10 would look like 5 out of 10. So when I look at 3/4 and 2/4, which one's bigger?
3/4.
3/4 is bigger than a half. Than half, right? Same thing here with 7/10. So what do I do when that happens, right? Now I'm thinking, okay, well, they're both bigger than half when I compare them. So now what I want to do, and this is, again, you don't have to write all of these out when you are doing your work, but now I'm going to take them and I'm going to compare them to a whole. So if I had a fraction with a denominator of 4, that means the numerator would be a 4. Same thing here with tenths. So clearly they're both going to be smaller than a whole because they're both fractions. But my question becomes, which one is closer to being whole? 3/4 or 7/10? Hang on a second and let's let everybody catch up, and I want y'all to think about this for a second. Ultimately, what you're thinking about now is what is not shaded. How much is not shaded at this point? Okay? So we're going to compare them in regards to who has the most unshaded pieces left. Who is taking up the most unshaded territory? Are you with me? I could even go ahead and draw this. No. Okay, I'm just going to do it like this. Okay, I've got 4 pieces up here. Not perfect, clearly. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade in 3 out of 4 here. And I'm going to shade in 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can tell visually what's happening here, right? This is what I want you to do when you're thinking, okay, now I'm going to compare them to like, how much do I need to make a fourth or a whole? What is the fraction here? This is 1/4, right? Are y'all with me?
Yes.
This one is 1, 2, 3 out of 10. So y'all, ultimately, what's bigger? Which fraction is bigger? Weston?
3 out of 4.
The 3 out of 4. So you're going to focus on the one that has the least amount of pieces on top. The least amount of pieces on top. So here, if I look at 3/4 versus 7/10, 3/4, thank you. Let me move this up. 3/4 wins. Because they're both bigger than 1/2. So I'm looking at what I need to make it a whole number. Give me a thumbs up if you're with me and ready to go. In the middle if you'd like to see another one of those. And thumbs down if you don't know what's happening with this at all. Okay, I'm waiting on some thumbs. Carson, how you feeling? Thumbs up. In the middle, thumbs down. Waiting on Violet. Carson, you okay? Oh, Lordy. Okay, so y'all say you're good. Y'all say you're good. Okay, let's do, as our final piece. Now, it said that we were going to compare and what?
Contrast.
Contrast. Was it compare and contrast?
No, compare and
It was compare and order. Hopefully I wrote that.
Yeah, compare and order.
Yeah, I did. Okay, good. I was like, because that sounded right to me. I was like, did I write? All right, so now let's talk about ordering fractions. Least to greatest, greatest to least, whatever it is that your directions tell you to do. So if I have multiple fractions, let's say, let me see, they gave me an example here. I've got 5/3. Whoa, why are you giving me this? 5/3, 6/6. Wait a minute. These are weird. Which is my actually 5/3, 6/6, and 7/8. Okay. Now, if I have these three fractions and I'm told, okay, I want you to put these in order, smallest to largest. Smallest to largest.
Wait, Miss Pam, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How does that 5 work?
How does that 5 work?
That's hurting my brain.
It is hurting your brain. Okay, so let's hold on to it for a second.
Smallest to largest.
So I am going to need to order these smallest to largest. Okay? Now, here's a couple of things I have to decide. First of all, you've got the 5/3. We haven't even talked about improper fractions, which is what this is. The top is too big. That means that there's at least one hole in here with some left over. Okay? Then I look at 6/6. What does this fraction equal? It equals one whole, right? Thank you. Okay, and then I've got 7/8, which is clearly bigger than half. Right, it's just one off. So now I need to decide which is the smallest, etc. So if I look at these, if I just say, okay, 5/3, 6/6, and 7/8, and I'm going to compare them to what would make a whole. So I'm not even going to compare halves because the first two don't even make sense, right? So if I were going to come up with a whole a fraction that represents a whole number for anything with the 3, it's going to be 3/3. Anything with the whole, it's going to be 6 out of 6, like I already have. Anything with the whole, it's going to be 8 out of 8. So I'm going to think of every single fraction, and I'm going to compare it to a whole number, to making 1. Are y'all with me? Now, if I look at 5 over 3, and 3 over 3 gives me a whole number, which one's bigger when she comes back? What's bigger, 5 over 3 or 3 over 3?
5 over 3.
Okay, let me call on you next time. 5 over 3. So this one's bigger than a whole. What do we know about 6, 6 compared to 6, 6? They are what, McKinley?
They're even.
They're equal, yeah. This one is exactly 1 whole. Now 7/8 is less than 7 or 8/8, right? Just barely though. So when I've compared them now, I need to decide which of these 3 is the smallest. How do I do that, Weston? How are you going to look at it?
You're gonna see which one, because 7/8 is smaller than 8/8,
Mm-hmm.
which means that it's obviously smaller than 5/3 and 6.
Yes, because 7/8 is smaller than the whole. It's got to be my first number. I've got to start with 7/8 because it's not even a whole. That leaves me here with 5/3 and 6/6. Violet, how would you compare those two? If you were deciding which one's smaller out of these two, what would you look at?
How many holes they have and how much left over do they have? How much fraction left?
Well, 6/6 is equal to 1 whole, right?
But 3/5
But 5/3
has a whole and 2 extra.
But yeah, so 5/3 is bigger than the whole.
You just flip-flopping.
So it's definitely bigger than a whole. That means my next one, my next number, if I'm going least to greatest, is going to be the 6/6, which leaves the 5/3. Okay, and this is your order, least to greatest. Any questions about that one? So one thing that we know, if we see a fraction that has a bigger top than it has a bottom, it's way more than 1. It's going to be 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, whatever it might be, okay? It's going to be at least 1 whole number. That one is going to be the biggest, period. All right? If you see some that are equal, they're going to go in the middle. If you see some that are less than the whole number, compare them accordingly, okay? Now, you're just going to have to be able to size these up. If you look at some other fractions and they're smaller, I don't know if they're even going to give you anything smaller than that. Probably a lot of the time. Well, let's look at one more. What do you mean no?
Yay!
Oh, you know what? Fine. Who said no?
Colton.
No problem, Colton. I got you, boo. So I've got 1/2, 1/9, and 1/4.
I can't see it.
Oh, no problem. There we go. So here's your next one. Here's your example. So you guys just sit there. Colton, I'm going to give you like a minute or two.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell me the order for these.
Okay.
Like 2 minutes. Oh, because you didn't want to do another example, so you got this, boo. Go.
They're all the same.
They're not all the same. And the fact that you just said they're all the same is a little concerning to me.
You are. Okay.
Or should we go through it, or you want to do it by yourself?
I can do it.
So we'll wait.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a look at this real quick. Because these numbers are pretty small on the top, I'm going to look at them like halves.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's probably what you're doing too. Now, if I'm comparing this, I've got a denominator of 2. Half of that would be a half, 1 over 2. Those two are going to be equal. Now, if I'm looking at 9, and this is why I changed it up on top earlier, half of that would be like 4.5. So if I mean, you can say like 4.5, 4.5 out of 9. Or you can think of it as 4/5 maybe. Either way, about halfway. About halfway. And then I'm going to think of 1 over 4. That would be, half of that would be 2 over 4. Now, this one is equal to, now both of these two here are smaller than their half. The question is, just say yes, the bottom, the top one, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so now what we need to do between these two, they're both going to be less than. You know what that tells me, guys? I'm going to go ahead and put that 1/2 right here at the back. If this is equal to half, and these two are both smaller than a half, then the half is the bigger.
I got that part right.
Okay, good.
Okay, I think
So
you're getting it.
here, take it easy. What I want to do is compare how far away I am from being to half. So again, it's all about, if I shaded this in, which would have the most blank open? If I'm going to shade in half of a cake with 9 pieces taken out of it, that'd be about 4.5 slices. This one only has 1 slice, so I need like 3.5 over 9 slices.
Okay.
But 1/4 is only 1 slice away. So at this point, I have to ask myself, what is closer to 1/2? A 1/9 or a 1/4? And the answer is
A quarter.
the 1/4. Right? How many pieces do I need to add to get to half? So just take a look at those, and that leaves you with your smallest fraction, which is 1/9. Yes, I was still talking, but let me call on you, McKinley. What you
I
got?
have 2 things. One, I got it right.
Congrats.
Yay. And 2, now that we were doing the splitty thingy, I started thinking of first grade when we did this and the pizzas, and now I'm kind of craving food.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. All right, hang on 1 second. All right, so what I need you guys to do, because we're about to switch early today, is your assignment is, I've already explained that, you can ask a friend. We're going to go to page 103 and 104. Okay, in your math workbook. Y'all go ahead and get those out. 103, 104. Just do it. Go ahead and get that out, and we're going to write do. Get it right now. For 8, for 9. So this is going to be due Wednesday, 4/10. Go ahead and put your name. Yep, we are skipping. I'm going to skip over to the fractions. So we're going to skip the geometry section for now and try to get some of these fractions done to get you guys ready for 6th grade. So go ahead and get into your math workbook. Please stop yelling. Math workbook. And let's go to page 103, 104.
Miss Fan.
Please stop talking while I'm talking. That's rude. And at the top of that page, go ahead and write due Wednesday, 4/10 at the top.